It's Tom Landry, and the next section of the newsletter in front of you is getting a little bit personal. and I often think about staying in one's lane. This idea of not going outside of what you know, and I think that's a bit of a mistake. The story I want to share with you is related to a coworker of mine who, after I was away for a little bit, I came back and she kind of had a download with me. She was wondering, in a moment of sort of truth and vulnerability, shared that she was overwhelmed and wondering how I managed to do it, how I managed to manage a whole bunch of different things and seemingly not be overwhelmed. Now, number one, we had a conversation about that and her workload and all these types of things. But number two is it made me go back and consider some of the things that I've developed and worked on over the years and get out of my lane and to share more about what works for me, what I've learned, and a little bit maybe of the wisdom that's come to me over the years. So in the spirit of resolutions, in the spirit of getting our house in order, not only our physical home, but our extension of that. They're intertwined, right? Sort of like the mycelia that's out there in our forests. It's all a network. So if your home is organized, if your physical home is organized, your life's probably going to be organized. If your life is organized, your physical home is probably going to be organized. So it's real estate related, but it's not. It's more about the overall. And to that end, I want to share with you some, if I can, resolution recommendations. And the number one thing is to purge. If you start literally with the physical, I mean, think about your home, think about your environment, think about your car. Get rid of things that you don't need and you don't use, and I guess this idea of not bringing you joy. So number one, that makes it easier to do the next steps. So less things, we all have, and I go into homes all the time, and we all have, I'm going to say 3 times more than we really need and we really use. And oftentimes we haven't touched a pile of stuff in a corner or certain things, and we're trapped by them. So the first part of freeing yourself up, to me, is getting rid of things you don't need. The second thing is to get organized. So once you have less, it's going to be much easier to then get those things organized. And we've all been a part of this. So after you get organized, obviously, it sends this message and it kind of looks great, it feels great. It's psychologically, the next day you get up and you see that environment, which is much more organized than it was before. And it's a very, very positive thing on our psyche. So get things organized, think about your routine, think about where things are located, maybe switch it up, maybe not. But get organized. The next one is do a deep cleaning. Now, if you can do this yourself, great. If you can't, that's okay. There's organizations out there, and I'm going to provide links in the email to you to help you with this and help you get organized. Now, the key is then to maintain that. And one of the best things I can tell you from my own relationship that we are doing and have done over the years is hire somebody to help you out. And right there in that link is Green Clean Maine. They're a wonderful local company. And we hire them and we send them out to a lot of clients and do a great job. So the next one is develop routines. Now, I started to really focus on this a while ago, where we're creatures of habit. And I think that's developed a bit of a bad rap over the years, where people say you're stuck in a routine, you're in a rut, you got to break the mold, all of these sayings where many times people need to get in a rut. They need to stay in the box and not think outside the box. They need to work on making that the best box possible, work on the routines, and develop something that in the industry we call standard operating procedures of your life. And that could be the way you get up in the morning, what you do, how you do it, how you make the coffee. Develop those routines. I like to think of when I am in my room at night and I go to bed, that I can do that with my eyes closed. I can do that with no lights on. So pre-planning the next day, developing routines, those things are tied together and they can really help with your efficiency. Now, the pre-planning side, again, following on that routine, is something that came to light to me from talking with my brother, who's a retired Marine, and the idea of getting your next day planned. Now, a lot of business people focus on this as well, looking at that calendar, thinking about what I have to do the next day, pre-planning that psychologically, putting those things on my calendar. But it really should come down to all aspects and thinking about your next morning. While I'm a little bit more alert at night, I've got the coffee out, I put it in the grinder, I have the water filled in the tea kettle, I have my vitamins laid out right there. So what it does for me is it helps me be much more efficient the next day. And as opposed to, when I'm waking up, obviously, like many of us, I'm a little bit more groggy. And this allows me to start that day on a positive step. The next thing to think about is a combination of getting, once your sort of environment's in order, get you in order. So again, both of those things impact each other. And so once the environment's in order, getting yourself in order becomes much, much easier. And that becomes a matter of eating right, sleeping right, and working out right. Now, maybe there's no exact right in there. It's all a little bit pliable, but we can all agree, and the research is clear, that eating clean foods, eating less processed foods, and somebody that came from the food industry, I worked for a wonderful company, nothing against them, but after a while when you do and you work and you eat processed foods, you realize that these things are not the best for your nutrition, and eating things that are much cleaner and much more simple are much, much better. We're lucky to have the farm to table movement we have here in Portland, in greater Portland, and I encourage you to go and buy more natural foods, whole foods, and much less in the processed food categories. The next thing is sleeping right. So vitally important to sleep right. One trick to that is not eating within 3 hours of going to bed, trying to do things on a routine, getting to bed around the same time every night and getting up at the same time. And I've developed a bit of a routine myself, and I've shared that in that email where I'm a mouth breather. Most of my family is, and I've shared this with them. I've got mouth tape, I put an eye mask on, and I've also put in earplugs. Now, that may sound extreme. We don't live in a very, very busy part of Portland, or a noisy part, or a light polluted part of Portland. However, we have street lights, we have cars going by the house, and these things that I'm doing have dramatically changed my sleep. And the final one is working out and working out right. So these things are all interconnected. So if you sleep well, you're probably going to get up more alert. You're probably going to be able to work out in the morning or at night. You're going to have a better day. You're going to be more productive. If you work out, you're going to have more energy as well. So whatever that routine is, and I'm shooting this right now from my home gym, we, during COVID, moved from a local gym that was very close by, did a great job, to putting it in the house. And that allows me to go right from upstairs, downstairs, and work out. So there's very, very few excuses, and it carves out that travel time. So if you can get the gym into your home, I highly recommend that. If you can't, and you need the motivation of a gym or the equipment in a gym or even a personal trainer, whatever that is, working out right is entirely what you make it. And I have some suggestions there about not only cardio, which is super important, but also getting in some resistance training, which again, more and more research is showing is vitally important to your health. So as we all know, there's a bit of a high that comes from that. When you work out, you're going to take that energy. It's going to be, you're going to be more mentally clear, and it's going to certainly help with your longevity, mobility, etc. So highly, highly recommend those three things in balance. The next thing is something that you may know or may not know. About 3 years ago, I gave up drinking altogether. So it was a game changer for me, a life-changing moment, and it really came about by listening to a podcast, and that ties into some of the other stuff about social and how we spend our time. I listened to the Huberman Lab Podcast. Andrew Huberman, podcaster, incredible researcher, And I highly recommend his podcast. It touches base on a whole variety of things that I'm talking about right now. And really through that podcast, it was about alcohol and the negative effects. Now, I didn't have a problem with it. I drank socially, and I drank a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. However, when you look at the research, there's no safe amount, there's no good amount, and it's only destructive. So if you can eliminate booze, that's a good idea. If you can limit it, that's a very, very good idea. And we highly recommend that you, and I know for me, it's been a game changer in giving me more energy, more alertness in the morning, and it's even helped with my relationship. Although there was nothing alcohol-induced fighting or those things, it's what one of my friends talked about is these micro hangovers. So even if you're not really hungover, the next day when you get up, you're a little groggy, maybe you're a little bit short with your partner. And you're also maybe a little less productive on getting into the routine of waking up quickly and setting those routines and starting the day appropriately or sleeping appropriately. So again, like the mycelium in the forest and these things, it's all interconnected. So eliminate that if you can. The next thing is limit your time on social. It's incredibly destructive and disruptive. It's incredibly addictive as well, and the research is coming out about that. So when you get up in the morning, I recommend not jumping on that right away. I also recommend not doing that in that pre-time before you go to bed. And going in, being strategic about it, being careful who you follow. You know, some of these social media companies have usurped some of these terms. Think about leader and follower, right? If you're following somebody, they're leading you somewhere. So be careful who you follow, what you listen to. Think about your time as valuable, and think about the fact that this is an incredibly addictive, incredibly destructive thing that's occupying your time, which you only have so much time during the day. And where are you spending it? Are you spending it consuming reels and just watching this over and over again? Or are you spending it working on your goals and objectives and things that are important to you? So that really ties into narrowing the priorities, which is the next thing down on that. We only have so many hours. I gave you a breakdown there. And I think one of the problems is we don't realize that we're spending them in ways that necessarily aren't how we would choose to spend them. So if we think about family, we think about our vocation, and we think about our avocations, there's not a lot of additional time in the day. So you have to think about how I'm spending that to take care of you, to take care of those around you, to take care of, putting food on the table, if you will. And then what else do you have out there? So think about your day, think about your time, narrow those priorities versus the shotgun approach. Finally, find your agency. Probably one of the most important ones is to realize that you are responsible, able to choose your response to things, and that you are the maker of your own destiny and not a victim in life. Sometimes we go through ups and downs, and that can be lost. However, I highly recommend that you think about you as the captain. Now, we're all dealt with certain things, whether genetically or our background or our situations, but the sooner you get your hands around understanding that you're going to be the one that writes your obituary, you're going to be the one that dictates things, and your perception of things can change. It starts to give you the ability to say, hey, this is in my control, and I'm going to do everything I can, as best I can, to write the path and go down the path I want to go down. So that's it on resolutions. I hope that's helpful to you. I'm going to share more and chunk these up a little bit as we go along.